Come with me for a 10-minute yin yoga class for the lower body. We will be stretching every muscle in the legs. These kinds of stretches really help to improve and maintain our range of motion. We'll be holding each stretch for about 1 minute in class today. We're gonna start standing. So come onto your mat. So start standing at the top of your mat. The feet are under the hips or maybe even a little bit wider. And we're gonna bend forward from the hips. A little bend in the knees, fine here. Crown of the head starts to hang heavy, chin comes into the chest. Hands can come to the mat or opposite hands to opposite elbows. 1 minute of dangling pose or ragdoll right here. So feeling into the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. And no need to go too far down, right? All we're looking for is a stretching sensation in the backs of the legs. So find a place that's good for you. And the knees can bend a little bit more if it helps to take some of the tension out of the hamstrings. Start to kind of lean the weight forward into the balls of the feet. It's almost like I could slide a piece of paper under your heels. That allows our hips to start to stack more over the ankles. Now, while you're here, if it feels good to sway from side to side, you're welcome to take these gentle movements. Really focusing here in the hamstring area. So back of the legs, between the knee and the hips. All right, so from here, release the hands down. Toe heel the feet apart, dropping the hips now. And then we'll come to a seat. So however you need to do that. Our next pose is caterpillar. Caterpillar, it will be helpful to either have a bolster on the lap or underneath the knees, like this. We'll be folding forward once again in either this shape or in this shape. So find what feels good to you, and we will take 1 more minute here. All right, so coming into the pose, starting to just notice sensations. Once again, it's the back of the legs, so the hamstring area. If it's possible to take your feet together this time, that's a little different than the stretch and dangling. And then if your knees are bent, you have a bolster supporting you underneath the knees. Let the rib cage touch the thighs. If the legs are straight and you have a bolster on your lap, feel as though the head is really falling, relaxing down into that support. And then can you relax any muscles in the core, backs of the legs, lower back, and allow yourself to deepen into this stretch. Inhale, thinking let, exhale, go. Inhale, let, exhale, go. From here, coming on up and moving into dragonfly. So for dragonfly, we take the legs nice and wide. It's helpful to have a support in front of you, like a pillow or a bolster like I have. And the legs can be as wide as is good for you. You might bring them closer, you might bring them farther. And we'll just come on forward here to your degree. So some of us will just, chest will hit the floor. Some of us will be up a little ways. If you need to prop yourself up on your arms, or even straighten out the elbows here, that's fine. We're looking for a stretch mostly in the adductors. That's the inside of the legs this time. Inner thighs. And we'll spend 1 more minute here. So noticing where you feel the stretch, and then seeing if you can surrender into the stretch. So here we're doing passive stretching, letting the muscles relax as we stretch the tissues of the body. And passive stretching is one of the best ways to increase range of motion. So this is something that you don't want to do before your workout or before your run, but it is certainly something you want to do after. And when we increase or maintain our range of motion, it just helps us move comfortably throughout our whole life. So maybe inhale, let, exhale, go. What can you release? Beautiful. And then very gently, taking yourself back up, moving out of Dragonfly, we're going to take Butterfly. So for Butterfly, the knees bend, the soles of the feet come together here. All right, so you might open your feet like a book, but that opening comes from external rotation in the hips. It's not because you're twisting your feet. And if your feet are closed together like this, the soles together, you might see my knees rise a little bit higher. That's fine, but eventually you'll press the outer edges of the feet together. Let the knees open towards the floor. Holding the feet, you'll start to pull yourself forward a little bit. So your torso comes forward. And then from here, start to round the back. Forehead comes towards the feet. We have 1 more minute here. So now we're still doing some inner thighs, some adductors, but we've also moved on to the external rotators in the hips and the low back. So external rotators, piriformis, glute medius, glute minimus. Yeah, but you might also have sensation in the low back here. That's because everything is connected, right? And when we're stretching the hips, the lower back is also connected to the hips, just on the upper side there. So finding your edge in the stretch, going as far as feels good and right to you. It should be a bit intense, but it should not be painful. So check in with your breath. Can you still breathe here? Inhale, let. Exhale, go. And then on your next inhale, come on up. We'll move on to pigeon pose. So take your pillow or bolster towards the front of your mat. Take your left foot towards the back and your right foot out in front. I have the heel, right heel close to the left hip, okay? You could start to take the right foot towards the top left corner of your mat. The shin goes parallel to the top of the mat. It can be a more intense stretch. It's totally up to you. Find what kind of works for you and do that. But then I'm gonna lie forward onto this bolster. And if you find that it's too intense to come down, simply stay up. Maybe you don't need a bolster and you take your chest all the way down to the floor. But whatever it is you'll do, we'll just continue to stretch here for 1 more minute. And this continues with those external rotators in the hip. So now on the right side, you should be feeling a different but similar stretch to the one in Butterfly. We're stretching those outer muscles in the hip. And then additionally, we have the hip flexor on the left side. So the front of the left leg where it meets the core. So just gently letting the chest relax down. Maybe releasing the muscles in the hips. When our muscles are activated, they tend to shorten. And the goal of our stretching is to lengthen the muscles. So can you release them? Even if you have that protective instinct to kind of hang on. That's why we think inhale, let, exhale, go. As a mantra we can use with the breath. Inhale, let, exhale, go. Giving a little love here to the lower body. All right, and then from here, slowly come on up. We will just switch sides. So take the left leg in front. The right leg comes back, and we have the left foot now. Maybe it's close to the right hip, or maybe you're scooching that left foot kind of in front so that the shin bone is parallel to the top of your mat, right? But do what works for you. And we want the hips level here, all right? And so if it's impossible to get your glute down onto the mat, you might put some kind of support underneath the left glute here. And then taking one more minute to melt the chest down, now feeling the stretch in the outer edge of the left hip. So allowing the forehead to melt down onto the mat, allowing the hands to relax, the shoulders to relax, the arm bones start to sink down into the earth. Noticing a stretching sensation in the front of the right hip now. And then seeing if you can send that energy of releasing to the muscles that are being stretched right now. So we don't want to activate them. As we activate them, they will automatically shorten. Can you release the muscles, allowing them to lengthen? Let the chest fall deeper towards the earth, maybe the melting down into that pillow underneath you. Good. And then gently come on up. Take your time. We just have one more adventure. So, hero's pose. With hero's pose, we're now stretching the front of the leg. So we're stretching the quadriceps and the hip flexors. So allow the knees to come together, and the heels are close to the glutes here. Now, if this is too much on the knees, you're gonna wanna sit up on your pillow and not take it any farther. But if you're feeling good, if you can get your glutes down, you'll start to lie back onto the bolster. And if you're super bendy, you won't even use a bolster. And you'll just lie back onto the floor. And then one more minute here. So you might have a sense of stretching not only in the quads and hip flexors, but into the core here. You might feel compression in the low back. What we don't want is sharp and shooting pain in the knees, so notice what you feel. And if you're feeling too much of a stretch, sit back up. You still benefit from stretching if you're seated, right, with the shoulders over the hips. Whatever position you choose, can you send that breath? Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Inhale, let. Exhale, go. Really imagining length in the tissues of the front of the body between the knee and the hip up into the core. One more deep breath. Let it go. Beautiful. Gently come on up. All right, great job. We stretched out a lot of those muscles in the lower body. If you are looking for more range of motion in your lower body, just repeat this class 5 times every single week, and you will successfully improve your range of motion. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and even share with a friend. Your support in this way helps me continue to make content like this. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you soon.